Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to the latest edition of Miami Total Football. Well, it was another disappointing night for Inter Miami at Inter Miami CF Stadium. They suffered their latest loss in this 2020 expansion season. It's been a recurring theme hearing those words, especially on this channel. But Inter Miami fell 3-2 to New York City FC. All 5 of the game's goals came in the first half. New York City FC took the lead 4 minutes in through Alexandru Mitrita, but Inter Miami fought back, got a goal, a good goal from Lewis Morgan, a very strong finish from the right after some nice combination play helped open up New York City FC's defense, but New York City FC would reclaim the lead 8 minutes later, and Anton Tinnerholm took advantage of the time and space he was allowed and slotted home from just outside the box. It was a good finish, but not as good as the following one from Lewis Morgan, who once again came up with a great goal. And this one was better than his first. He hit this one top corner, upper 90 on the right side after a feed from Gonzalo Higuain, and the game was 2-2. Inter Miami was back in it and had a chance to maybe take their first lead of the match. Unfortunately, a counter-attack from NYCFC on a play that began as a corner kick for Inter Miami in the 43rd minute ends up coming back the other way, and Alexandru Mitrita winds up taking a shot that gets a heavy deflection before going into the back of the net. So a bit fortuitous for New York City FC on the finish, a bit unlucky for Inter Miami in that regard, but they were exposed on the counterattack, and it happened in the same way that it happened in the MLS's back tournament when they gave up a second goal to the Philadelphia Union in their group stage match on a very similar type play. Now for Inter Miami, the defense has obviously been a talking point over these last few games. Not only tonight, but over the last 3 matches. They've given up 10 goals in the last 3 games, a far cry from the defense that had posted back-to-back shutouts a couple of weeks ago or a few weeks ago. And now the attack is starting to look better, but the defense is struggling, whereas before the attack was having issues. But head coach Diego Alonso said after the game that he didn't think that it was a defensive issue, that he thought the team had a good defensive game, that the problem was that there were just too many individual errors, and that's what cost the team in this one.
No ves que la defensa no trabaje bien. La defensa trabajó bien. Recibimos pocos tiros, presionamos fuerte, recuperamos la pelota alto. Eso es trabajo defensivo también. El problema es los errores que te llevan a un gol, que son a veces prácticamente difícil de explicarlo. Muy, muy difícil de explicar algún tipo de error que no tiene que ver con el trabajo defensivo. Creo que para mí, Franco, es una situación, creo que defensivamente no es que yo lo sienta que el equipo es endeble, porque hace muchas cosas bien, pero sí cometemos errores.
Now, while I get Alonso's points that from the run of play, maybe Inter Miami's defense held up fairly well, they did commit individual errors that cost them, and that is part of defending. So for me, I don't think they had a good defensive game. Yes, there were individual errors, and that's what led to all 3 of the goals, but that's part of the art of defending, and Inter Miami has had too many of those issues over the course of the season. Tonight was just another example of that, especially with regards to the debuting veteran right back AJ De La Garza. He got his first appearance for Inter Miami on the right side of the defense ahead of Dylan Nealis, and it was a rough outing for the versatile De La Garza. He not only was in no man's land on the first goal, but he also took a misstep on the counter-attacking goal, the decisive play, took a step forward to try to challenge for the ball, and that little bit of space that he left allowed Alexandru Mitrita to get just enough away from him that AJ De La Garza could never catch up to him and bring him down, foul him, or take the ball from him. So for him, it was a rough performance. Now, if you're talking on the positive side, well, obviously the performance of Lewis Morgan stands out in this one. He had 2 great finishes, like I mentioned before, but he was also confident as a result of the goals he scored. He started taking people on the dribble a little bit more down the flank, whipped in some good crosses. He even had 1 good ball in the 51st minute that found Gonzalo Higuain in front of goal, and Higuain somehow pushed it wide and headed it wide on one of Inter Miami's best plays in the second half. To be fair to Inter Miami, they also had the ball for large stretches of this match and had New York City FC pinned in their own half. There were times where all 10 field players for Inter Miami were in New York City FC's half against New York City FC's 10 players being in their own defensive half, trying to stay in their shape and keep an organized defense. But at the end of the day, it still didn't work out and give them the win that they needed. So for Inter Miami, it's just once again, a frustrating performance that Diego Alonso said after the match was easy to explain but difficult to understand. Adding to all that disappointment and frustration is the fact that Inter Miami remained in 13th place in the Eastern Conference, but now they fell 6 points back of the final playoff spot in the East, and so now they have even more room to make up. Obviously 6 points is just 2 wins. That's not a big task when there's 8 games left in the year, but Luis Morgan made it clear after the match during his post-game press conference that Inter Miami needs to start winning, needs to start finding ways to be more consistent on the field and in matches with their results if they're going to make up that space.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would say is obviously there is plenty of games to turn it around, but games run out fast. So it's all well having the amount of games we've got left to play, but you said it there yourself, we need to start winning for those games to matter. I mean, it's all well and good saying that there's plenty of games to turn it around, but we as players need to turn it around ourselves. The only people that are going to do that is us, the 11 starters, the guys that come into the game. They're the ones that impact the result, and 6 points isn't a huge gap. I mean, we've got a really talented group. We can definitely do that. We can close that gap. We can go on a win and run at the moment. It's tough when you get into that habit of we're not picking up points. It's tough to turn the momentum around, but it's something that once you get that first win, I mean, anything can happen. We just need to get into the playoffs, and then it's one-off knockout games, and it'll be something to look forward to. So definitely confident we can get there, but also there's a realisation that we won't get there if we play like we're playing at the moment.
And there was more bad news for Inter Miami at the end of this one. Head coach Diego Alonso confirmed during his post-game press conference that Rodolfo Pizarro will be traveling to the Mexican national team for its para-friendlies in Europe, in Amsterdam, and he will miss 4 to 5 matches, not only because he has to travel and be away from the team, but because he's going to have to quarantine upon his return. So that's going to be a big blow for Inter Miami as they try to make this playoff push. That their attacking midfielder, the star attacking midfielder and productive attacking midfielder, will be out for so many matches during this stretch run. But that about does it for now. Make sure you stay locked into Miami Total Football for more news, analysis, and coverage of Inter Miami in the days and weeks leading ahead. As always, I'm Franco Panizo, and we'll see you next time.